Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Intro to Investments. This is going to be an interesting class. I mean, it's going to be a really interesting time to take this class because there's just so much going on, and um, and we've had like unprecedented growth in the stock market this last, call it, 2 and 3/4 of a year. I mean, this past 2 years, the market grew by more than 20%. It's banging this year. And it's really led by technology, but now we're starting to see, other segments of the market pop up. And and so, the old saying is, nothing goes up forever. And we've got within the economy several weird, sort of weird things that are happening, right? And who knows how that is going to culminate, which is really fun about taking this class when there's the potential for chaos. I expected there to be more chaos over this past summer, but there really wasn't. It was almost uneventful. The market went up and it was kind of boring. I don't think it's going to be as boring this semester. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons is that in about a week and a half, the Federal Reserve Bank, and we will talk more about this as we get closer, is going to be making a decision on interest rates. And so, if you watch the news at all, President Trump has really been jumping up and down about the Fed lowering interest rates. And he's a real estate investor, so of course he wants interest rates low. Everybody wants interest rates to be low. But the problem with interest rates being too low is that it overstimulates demand. And when we have too much demand and not enough supply, and here's the other side of this is that through tariffs, we've really been slowing down the ability for us to attract outside goods. So if we had too much demand because interest rates were low and you know supply was constricted by any measure, right? We would have inflation, more inflation than we have now. Not to mention that we also have tariffs, and those tariffs are causing prices to increase. Some of them are, the expectation is that they're going to be one-time increases, right? Like prices will go up by 10% this year, but they won't go up by another 10% next year. Although what's interesting is that this last um, uh, inflation report showed that services um, um, inflation increased, which is not normal. Wouldn't It's sort of disconnected from this tariff, and so who knows what's really going on? And at the same time, we had a really bad jobs report on Friday, and jobs only grew by 22,000 jobs were created. And some of that is the fact that it appears we've got a bit of a slowing economy. So on one side, we've got inflation, and on the other side, we've got, slowing jobs. And by the way, the Fed, the Federal Reserve Bank, their job is to keep inflation relatively low. Their target is 2%. We're at about 3% now, and it seems to be trending higher. So job one, keep inflation at about 2%. Three, and two is to keep full employment. Full employment is considered right around 4%. So 2% inflation, 4% unemployment rate. So unemployment has been inching up. So I think it's at 4.4% now. And so we've got a slowing job market at the same time that we've got inflation increasing. That's just madness from the Fed's perspective. Normally those things sort of go together. And but we're not seeing that, which is why I'm saying this is going to be kind of a weird semester. And well, has the potential for it. So if the Fed lowers interest rates in a week and a half, everybody's expecting them to do that. So we're between 1.25%. It's not a lot, but it's something. The market will respond. We just don't know which way they're going to respond. If the Fed does not lower interest rates, the market will respond negatively. If the Fed lowers interest rates, but instead of lowering it by 0.5%, they lower it by 0.75%, the market will respond, and it won't be a good thing because then the market will be thinking that the Federal Reserve is sort of seeing the news as more worse, or the economy is worse off than maybe we're seeing. So there's a lot of tea leaf reading that we can expect to see over this next week. So whereas most classes, there's like this little bit of a honeymoon period where we sort of get to know each other. We're all going off the deep end of the pool this next week as we get ready for this Fed meeting. We can expect there to be lots and lots of activity and lots for you to learn at the same time. And so let's get into that a little bit. I didn't mean to babble this much, but there's just so much going on that's like it's kind of exciting. And so we'll see what happens, right? So I'm Miguel Colon. I guess I should have mentioned that when I started babbling. So I'm the guy that's going to be teaching the class. So I'm a tenured professor here at Chabot. I lead the entrepreneurship department, so that's sort of my jam. But I do have a Wall Street background, so I was at Morgan Stanley for several years. And so I get the stock market and I get how the economy works. And those are sort of like two of my passions, which is why I teach this class. And but I'm an entrepreneur first, so I've started 11 companies. I've put significant capital, north of $40 million, into 11 of our startups, and three of them went really well. A bunch of them, didn't, obviously. The last one we started failed. Failed. We started it during COVID, and it didn't go well. But it's just the nature of being an entrepreneur. My MBA is from St. Mary's, but I'm a Chabot College alumni, and I'm a Hayward kid, as they say, made in Hayward, um, but Hayward up from a long time ago. So let's get right to it. Why do students fail my class? And I probably have 10 or 15% of my students will just fail the class. And the big thing is that they forget to do the projects. And so there are several major projects that are associated with the class that have to do with extraordinary learning. So we're going to talk about the nuts and bolts, the fundamentals of what it means to invest. Um, and stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, right? That we're going to focus on the core. There's a little bit of discussion about maybe crypto a little bit, right? We talk a little bit about options and shorting the market, but I don't do any of those things. And so I really want you to have the fundamentals before you try to do anything too extraordinary. And so that's where I focus this class. So if you're like, how do I learn to day trade? Um, you won't learn how to day trade in this class. And I don't think I've never met anybody that's made money day trading ever. They might be able to make money for like 3 weeks, and then after that they lose all their money. It's like thinking you're going to be able to go to Vegas and get rich in Vegas. And the only people that get rich in Vegas are it's the house, right? So the projects, people just forget to do them. They get busy, they get distracted, or they just decide not to do them. They fall behind in the class and they don't talk to me. So I get this every semester. Somebody's going to last semester I had it, or 2 semesters, I had a student say, hey, I missed a bunch of assignments. I got engaged 2 weeks ago and I was really distracted. Well, there's nothing I could do for you now because 2 weeks has gone by. This class is not designed for you to, like, in the last 2 weeks, make up all the assignments. That's not what this class is. This is really built so that there's incremental learning every week. And every week, the assignments become a little bit more rigorous. And it's not designed so that, you can go back after, missing 13 weeks and just try to knock it all out. That's not the way the class is structured. And so I won't do that. However, if shit does hit the fan or something does go wrong or there is something going on in your life, you send me a little text or send me an email and say, hey, look, I just need a couple more days because, I don't need the drama. I don't need to know what's going on. I just need you to tell me, hey, man, I got something going on. But you can't do it after 2 weeks, right? You can't come like if you can get to me before the assignment is due, right? So if the due, most assignments are due like today, Sunday, and they're all due at 11:59 p.m. If you reach out to me on Tuesday to tell me you missed an assignment that was due on Sunday, the answer is no, right? But if you reach out to me like Sunday afternoon, like, hey, I am in the middle of something, I'm going to be at work until 11, I know I'm not going to finish it, whatever. The reason is we could work it out. And but the key is that students just don't talk to me until the very end, until days or a week has gone by, and then it's too late. And so talk to me. It's super easy to reach out to you. I'll give you my text, I'll give you my mobile number. You can send me a text or call me or whatever. I'm also on campus every single day. So if you want to stop by my office, I've got really good coffee. So pop in, have a cup of coffee, and let's talk, and make sure you're not one of those 10 or 15% of the students. So let's talk about AI a little bit. I mean, you want to talk about a topic that is buzzing our campus. Um, my whole thinking on AI has completely changed in the last month. A month ago, I was at Harvard Business School, and I was learning about AI from two of their professors, and wow. So I have changed this class a little bit. And by the way, I need you to be a little flexible because I'm going to be changing it more. And you're going to be my guinea pigs. I've started doing it with one of my other online classes, and the result has been extraordinary. And so, is using ChatGPT cheating? Maybe, right? It depends on how you're using it. If you're using ChatGPT to do your work, that's a problem. However, if you're using ChatGPT as a research tool, right, and you begin the discussion with ChatGPT, because that's really how the best way to use ChatGPT is, it's a discussion. And you begin the discussion by saying, look, first of all, I'm a college student. Do not give me the answer. What I need is help understanding X. So let's say, for example, we're going to use one term that I use quite a bit, modern portfolio theory. So modern portfolio theory it's in the nutshell is just diversification. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's the nutshell. There's a more complicated way that you calculate modern portfolio theory. There's a whole bunch of math behind it. Some of you that really like math would probably love to understand, the math side of the equation. For the rest of us that are not excited about math, um, it's just understanding what does it mean to have a diversified portfolio. And a diversified portfolio, does that mean you've got 5 stocks and they're all technology stocks? That's not diversified. So you could use ChatGPT to say, help me understand what building a portfolio for somebody that's 35 years old. They make $110,000 a year. They got 2 kids, and they want to retire in 30 years. They've got 5 grand now, and they want to invest $200 a month. What would be some examples of portfolios? And please apply modern portfolio theory. If you were to approach ChatGPT in that way, ChatGPT would not give you the answer, but what it would do is it come back and start probing you and start asking you questions. Well, what's their risk tolerance like? And what about this? And what about that? And have they thought about college planning for the kids? And what about, does a spouse working? Do they own a home? Do they want to buy a home? And it would begin to help you think a little bit better, and that's how I use it. I use ChatGPT every single day now. And it's a little frustrating for some of my students that want to work ahead because I'm changing assignments. So the objective of the assignment won't ever change, but the assignment itself might change. I normally will do it no less than a week in advance. But I got to tell you, sometimes you could use it and it's amazing. But what if you use ChatGPT to cheat? So you just go in and say, look, here's the profile. You take the question, you copy it into ChatGPT. ChatGPT gives you the answer. You go in and you give me that answer. Can you do that? Absolutely, 100%. But what's the downside? You're not going to learn anything. And so what's the point of taking this class, right? Because I got to tell you, I mean, it's not like this class leads to you getting to transfer to go to Berkeley. This class does not it's not connected to a certificate. It is not connected to a degree. This is one of those classes that fills every single semester because it's a life-changing class. So if you don't go through the learning, what's the whole point? Just drop the class and go take something else, right? This really is a class designed to sort of put you in a better position so that you're not going to be one of those 50, 60, 70 million people that are getting old and they're terrified because they didn't save any money, or they didn't know how to do it, so they didn't do it. The other side, is that, and I'm going to use a very technical term, your brain connectivity may be systemically scaled down. That is a term that's how MIT, they did a survey on 5 months of students that exclusively used ChatGPT in order to do the homework for them. Yeah, they became dumber. MIT has come out and said, whoa, 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 don't say you get dumber. And we're like, bro, but that is what your description's essentially. If I put in, what does this mean in ChatGPT, it says you get dumber. And why? Why is that? Because you're allowing something else to learn for you. And learning should be hard. Learning should be challenging. Learning should be frustrating, right? Because you're essentially rewiring all the synapses in your brain to like process data in a way that you hadn't done before. So please use ChatGPT, but before you do, say, did you use it to avoid learning? Because if you did, what's the point? And did using enhance or replace your learning? And those really should be questions that you ask every time you get ready to use ChatGPT or some other AI. I don't care whether it's Genesis or don't use Gronk. That is proving to be a not a very good system, but that's another story. Um, so AI is great. Like I said, I use it every single day now. So you're probably getting this. The class is going to challenge you, and that's my objective. And it's going to make you a little uncomfortable because some of the things that we talk about in the class maybe are a little uncomfortable. So, for example, we are going to talk a little bit about DEI in this class. Why? Because there are companies that either it continue to adhere to DEI or they've abandoned their DEI, and it's I'm going to ask you, let's consider this as an issue. Does it impact your view on investing? And in the past, I've had students that get really, they get a little emotionally invested in this, because they feel really strongly about DEI one way or the other, right? And whether you think DEI should be a consideration or should all just be merit based, everybody's got an opinion. And so, we're going to have conversations like this. And because it's important for you to understand, why aren't you investing in Disney when Disney's been banging this year and is expected to grow great for the next couple of years? Is this a value decision or is this one based in a sound economic thinking? By the way, there's no wrong answer, but we're going to get to have that discussion. And then we're gonna, some of you have come back to me and said, is there a career for me in this business? And how can I do that? And so there is in the back of my mind the possibility that I will go off and create an associate's degree in financial services. Will it get you a job at Morgan Stanley or Goldman Sachs or one of the big firms? No, it won't. But will it get you into a position where you might be able to join a smaller firm? Maybe, right? And I think a lot of it depends on whether I actually do it and how I do it and who helps me do it, et cetera. But we'll see. That's another day to dream, right? We've got a bunch of learning outcomes and really identify basic risks and rewards of various investment types. That's where we're really going to be spending a lot of time. We're going to build portfolios. We're going to learn how to do research. We do a lot in 15 weeks. I give you the book for free. There's a bunch of videos, but the book that we use is free. And so there's an assigned reading every single week. A bunch of students don't do it because there's not a test every single week, but there is a final exam every single week, every single semester. So that final is going to be really based on all of this reading and all of the videos that I have assigned. But the book is free. It doesn't cost you anything. Work to be done, bunch of assignments. The post and comment I'm going to talk about in a few minutes when we go take a look at the website. But that might be the most important thing we do in the class. But let's move on. There's points. When you get enough points, you get grades. I don't give grades. I just add up the numbers. And there's also a ton of extra credit. So if you miss an assignment or two, the world doesn't come to an end. Office hours. I'm on campus every single day. So, and I'm in my office at about 12 o'clock every 4 days a week. So that's every day for us. And so I also have some Zoom hours that you can like hit me up. But seriously, if you've got a question, you just text me 707 980-0691. I only have one phone. I know some instructors have, they have their Chabot phone and they have their personal phone. I've only got one phone. And as a matter of fact, since we've been talking, I've gotten a text saying, "Hey, professor," and a student that needs some help. And it's a Sunday, and so I'll still respond to the student. We'll get them squared away. So don't hesitate to reach out. Okay. Once again, that's the way you want to get me. Hit the mobile. You can email me, right? If you're like, well, I don't want to bug you. Here's the deal. If I didn't want you to contact me, I wouldn't give you my number. So don't feel like you're bugging me. Honestly, I get students like, I hate to be a bother. If I wouldn't have given you my number had I thought I'm in this to make sure that everybody like grows and does a great job and has the advantages associated with learning how to invest. And so, when I designed the class and I sort of really got my arms around what was going to be required in order to teach this class well, I knew there was going to be the possibility, the need for an extraordinary amount of support. So take advantage of it because I already assumed I was going to have to do it. So let's take a little peek at the class. Let's get a full screen on this thing. And I'll make it bigger so you guys can see it. This is our, why is this not, well, let me just make this bigger. So this is what you're going to see when you come in. The only difference is that there'll be at the top, there will be this video. And so in here, we've got the syllabus and the weekly outline. And then we've got the stock game. This really doesn't start, I think it's assigned in week 3. But you should try to sign up now. By the way, the password is Chabot exclamation point. And I'm already, so if you click it and you open it up and it doesn't open, it shouldn't. It'll take you here, right? And I've already loaded mine. And so it'll start tomorrow. And so all of my stocks that I have will go into this. And you don't have to pay. You got to click some small print in order to be able to get to the free game, but there's no cost to participate. You should go and log in now, and if you currently have an investment portfolio, maybe consider, adding something to it now, because the sooner you get into it, the sooner, we could start sort of learning together on that. I will just start dumping some great readings in here. Um, uh, Additional stuff. You don't have to read them, but I got to tell you, every last one of them I've read at least once, and they're great, and I refer to them. And it's interesting when you look at like something like Vanguard's economic and market outlook, and then you look at what's happening today. You're kind of like, these guys have no idea what they're doing, but they're fun. I'll swap some of these out. These are some of the news organizations that you're going to probably want to follow. One way to do it is, if you're on the gram, what you could do is just follow them on Instagram, and then you'll get, whenever there's like something that's really important, you'll see Bloomberg in your feed, and you could click on it and go read it, or you could download. Like I have the Bloomberg app on my phone, and it then goes into my CarPlay, and so I will listen to Bloomberg News on the way to work, on the way home from work, because that's giving you like real time. It's all market based. What is the latest news and how is it going to impact stuff. So, but these are some of the other barons. Some of these guys are going to want you to pay. Don't pay. Don't do it. You can, just read the headline and still get the gist of it. Yahoo's free. I think Market Watch, I don't think they're going to charge you, but a bunch of like BBC's free. Some of these are free. And then we got a bunch of extra credit, super stuff, right? The open discussion, it says it's due on the 12th of September, but the reality is that this is open all semester long. If you come across some news that's like really like, oh my gosh, I just read this and it was like, oh, amazing. Come over here and dump it in there, share it, right? The more you share, the more extra credit points I'll get. And because I want this to be sort of an area where we come in and we can like share stuff with us. And then office hours, do a Zoom call, I give you it, but there's extra credit stuff. The projects. So I created a video for the projects, And they are here, project instructions. I'm going to get probably 5 or 6 phone calls from people going, "How do I do this? I can't figure it out." It's right there, right? So I know you watched the video or you didn't, based on whether I get an email from you or not. And then this is what we have to do this week, week one starting tomorrow. So the way the course is laid out is I give you the assignments. This week we've got 2 assignments, assignment 1 and assignment 2. Pretty slow week. And then I've got videos, and not one of them is a filler video. Some weeks there's no videos, and there's some weeks where there's a lot of videos. Most of them are short. They're like a minute, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Some of them are going to be a little bit longer because there's actually something there. But most of them are going to be relatively short. So take your dog for a walk, put it on, and listen to it, right? Or go to the gym, get on the treadmill. Do not watch, a rerun of some show on Netflix. Watch the video, and you'll get, and they're short, and then you can go and go look for your reruns on Netflix. And then there's the readings. This is directly from the book. You click the link, it'll take you there. And then these are readings that are directly connected to this week's learnings. So some of you are just going to go to the assignments and you miss all of this. And honestly, this is where the class is. And this is where the learning comes in. And then there's week 2, and then there's week 3. Everything is open. Every last thing is open. You can look ahead, but like don't go to week 3 and do week 3's active discussion on inflation, because I may change it. I may go in and work with ChatGPT to come up with a better way to explore how to learn about inflation easier than reading, a 5-page document and answering some questions. Something that might be a little bit more interactive. I've been playing with one a little bit, but I'm not there yet. So don't like work ahead 2 weeks and be like, oh, I'm way ahead. You'll still get points. You're not going to have to do the new assignment, but you're going to maybe miss out on something pretty cool. Let's go back to week 2. In week 2, we start what's called post and comment. And this is where you will be using ChatGPT, right? Is what I want you to do is, um, you know, uh, uh, you may not have built a portfolio yet, but we'll have done project 1, which is going to be companies that you have a relationship with that might have a publicly traded stock. I want us to start using ChatGPT and saying, okay, hey, and this is the prompt, right? I have a portfolio with the following securities. List the securities you have in Market Watch. What happened this week that would have impacted my portfolio? Boom, ask the question. Dump it into ChatGPT and say, I'll do it. It's kind of fun. I'll do it. This video never takes this long because nobody really wants to hear me babble for this long, right? So me going and say, okay, I have a portfolio with. Let me go in and see, what do I have? I've got. Let's go with Google. Got B. I've got Uber. I'm trying to think off the top of my head what's in there. I've got Honeywell. I've got Walmart. I've got like an Indian fund, an Indonesian fund. I think the Indonesian fund is Indo. I've got. Well, let's see. I guess I can go to. I'm not gonna do. I'm just gonna put that in there, right? What happened this week that would have impacted my portfolio? So this is where ChatGPT could just be like brilliant, right? So it's going to go off. It's going to think a little bit. It's doing a lot. Ooh, look at this, right? Yeah, Google ripped this week. I'm so excited to see that. And these are the stock increases, and then this is the summary, right? Significant legal win for Google. Uber momentum this week was modest. Walmart 4.2% lower impact mileage. Honeywell, blah blah blah. It'll give you a little bit of a summary, right? At least get you thinking a little bit, because this is the information that we need as investors. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go pull your information, you're going to dump it into Canvas, into this section, and then what you're going to do, and then you're going to go read what other people got. And this is like being able to brainstorm in the classroom. Super, super important that we do this. And this might be the most important thing we do, right? Um, and so, just because of the interaction between you and the other students. So I'm going to stop because I could go on for another half an hour, but I feel like I really need another cup of coffee. So if you got questions, you know how to find me. Reach out, send me a little text, say, hey, I've got a question, or just say, hey, that's always fun. Or say, look, I want to schedule office hours. When can we do that? So I hope the class turns out to be as much fun for you as it has been for the last several years for me. We should expect a certain amount of madness, and if we don't get that madness, then I think that's going to be maybe more telling. But we'll talk about that more as the semester goes on. Peace. Happy Sunday.